Good afternoon, guys. In previous class, we were discussing these uh, wireless sensor networks. Okay, so there we have studied about limitations of these wireless sensor networks and data design constraints of these wireless sensor networks. Then these data aggregation also we have studied. Okay, so now also in previous class I think I told you about these two communication patterns also, that is event driven and periodic. Okay, then with one example also I explained these two. Next I go to the topic, that is small topic, that is communication protocols for wireless sensor networks. Okay, so, whenever there is a question of communication, whenever there is a question of communication between two devices, so this protocol definitely comes there, because in our computer networks also we have seen so many protocols there for communication purpose. So particularly here we are studying these protocols for wireless sensor networks. Already you know wireless sensor networks, as its name itself, it is a network of sensors connected to each other, and not only sensors are connected there, actuators are also connected, and all together we will call them as a smart objects. Okay, so in fact in these wireless sensor networks there may be many smart objects or IoT devices connected to each other. And now, since nowadays literally there are thousands together different varieties and different types of sensors and actuators are there. So here, these wireless sensor networks are also categorized into two types mainly. Okay, so earlier they were used to called as a homogeneous wireless sensor network. Homogeneous means what? Same category, same type of sensors and actuators were used in these wireless sensor networks earlier. And year by year, so since there are development of various different types of sensors and actuators, those different sensors and actuators are using now in wireless sensor networks. So these existing wireless sensor networks are called as heterogeneous wireless sensor networks. And how we can prove that these are heterogeneous? Because in many ways we can prove them. And existing wireless sensor networks, whatever they are actually uh, categorized into three categories or three types, because they have a transition or a transformation from homogeneous to heterogeneous. These are two types of wireless sensor networks. Now already I told you just now. One is homogeneous wireless network, and second is heterogeneous wireless sensor networks. Guys, please go on mute. Okay, wireless sensor networks are categorized based on type of sensors. Okay, and in how many types they are categorized? Three types based on types of networks. If you are using the same type of sensors, then they are called as homogeneous wireless sensor networks. Okay, so if you are using all different types of sensors in your network, then they are called as heterogeneous wireless sensor networks. And apart from these two, there are some situations, there are some possibilities are there of mixing or combining these two types of sensors. It means same type of sensors are also there, and variety of different types of sensors are there. So these combination of once, if you combine or connect these homogeneous wireless sensor networks and heterogeneous wireless sensor networks together, then that network, the resultant network, is called as hybrid wireless sensor network. That is hybridized mix of hybridized means what? It is a mix. Okay, so mix of what we are doing here: many cheap sensors with expensive sensors. See, this is actually heterogeneous now, because so type may be anything. Okay, type here we are taking one parameter as a cost of sensor. Cheap sensors may be combined with expensive sensors so that it will form heterogeneous wireless sensor network. Okay, so when we combining same type of sensors with the different types of sensors, then it is called as hybridized. Okay, so there are mainly we can categorize wireless sensor networks into three categories here: homogeneous, heterogeneous, and hybrid. Then wireless sensor networks can be also categorized into single purpose networks and multi-purpose networks. If you are using it for only one purpose, then it is single purpose network. For multiple purposes, if you are using that network, then it is multi-purpose networks. And this is completely depends upon the different applications. Okay, it depends on an application which network I should use. Then just imagine that if our wireless sensor network contains multiple types of sensors, I mean different types of sensors, it means that it is a heterogeneous wireless sensor network. Then among these different types of sensors, if you consider one example of these sensors as a temperature sensor, apart from these temperature sensors, there are different types of other sensors are also there. Okay, so here I am talking about only sensor, temperature sensor. Okay, so if you are using these temperature sensors in your wireless sensor network, okay, so then this temperature sensor concurrently, it means parallelly and flexibly, it is used in this environmental applications or weather applications and smart farming applications, because already I told you how this temperature sensor is useful in farming, smart farming. Okay, so in fact this temperature sensor is used in a SANET, that is SANET, sensors actuator networks. Smart home is one example of a SANET, right? In previous class we have discussed it. So if we are using multi types of sensors in our wireless sensor networks, and among those all different types of sensors, if you consider temperature sensor, then the same temperature sensor can be applied on environmental applications, weather applications, and smart farming applications. And as I already told you here, since you are using multiple types of sensors in this wireless sensor network, among that only one I discussed now, that is temperature sensor. Apart from this, there may be other different types of sensors, pressure sensor or air sensor, so many other things, humidity sensor. Okay, so many things may be there. These different types of sensors are present in the same wireless network. It is called as heterogeneous wireless sensor network, and that environment is complete environment is called as heterogeneous environment. In such type of heterogeneous networks or heterogeneous environment, the communication between these smart objects, the communication between these sensors is very challenging. Okay, because there are no single type of sensor, there are multiple different varieties of sensors are there. Like in India, there are so many states are there, regions are there. The people from one region to another region vary. Their language, their behavior, their culture vary. In fact, if you consider the language, so one person who is belonging to one particular region cannot communicate properly with the one more person who is belonging to second region. The best example, if you take, you can take this Karnataka and Maharashtra, right? The people who knows little Marathi, they cannot properly talk with the pure Marathi people. The people who know little Kannada, they cannot completely properly speak in Kannada with Karnataka people. Like this, see, very different sensors are existing in the same network and they want to communicate with each other. So here we should use very sophisticated communication protocols. Keep it in your mind. Okay, because what is protocol? Protocol is nothing but set of rules which are governing the communication. Governing the communication, right? Set of rules. So those rules may be, that rules may be the language which is understandable by the party 1 should be also understood by the party 2, that is device 1 and device 2. Okay, this type of rules may be offered by the protocols. Since we are using different multiple types of sensors in our same one single wireless sensor network here, to make or to establish the communication between these different types of sensors, we should use most sophisticated communication protocol. That only I am going to discuss today. Okay, and to establish such kind of communication in this heterogeneous environment is not so easy. It is a challenge for us. So communication protocol must be able to scale to a large number of nodes. It means that it should be compatible with any number of nodes or devices. This is the first objective of a communication protocol. What it should do? It should support, okay, it should scale to a large number of nodes, means it should support n number of nodes, multiple number of nodes. Nodes are nothing but here devices or sensors, actuators or smart objects. Okay, so whenever we select a communication protocol, we should be very careful. Okay, we should be very careful. We should take care, or we should keep in our mind that what are the requirements of my application? What are the requirements of my application? How it is using these devices and how it wants those devices to communicate with each other. Okay, these all points we should keep in our mind. And also we should take care about some compromises. Compromises are nothing but trade-offs. Compromises. Who is giving a compromise here or trade-offs? The communication protocol is giving us some compromises. It means it may be a power consumption. If it is taking high power, if the devices are consuming high power, since still it should compromise there. Which one should compromise? Communication protocol should compromise. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it should say. Okay, if any device is consuming a more power, then if any device is transmitting the data in less speed, okay, actually maximum transmission speed is standard is there, but if any device is not meeting or satisfying this standard speed, then also it is a compromise which is given by this or tolerated by this communication protocol. Okay, then range of devices which are sending the signal to only 1 meter instead of sending the signals till 5 meters or 6 meters, still it has to compromise. Then tolerance for packet loss. If the data is lost, still it should compromise. Okay, it's okay, I can recover the lost data. Okay, if there is optimization in a topology, still it should be compatible with that topology. Topology optimization means what? Optimization is nothing but improvement, improvising the topology. So earlier, if it is a simple topology, then if you make it a complex by adding so many other additional nodes to the topology, okay, then it is called as topology optimization. Even though you add n number of nodes to that topology or network, the efficiency of network should not be reduced. Okay, keep it in your mind. That is only optimization. Then security. If something happens there, if some devices are insecure, still this communication protocol should compromise that also. There's so many compromises are provided by this communication protocol. So whenever we choose the communication protocol, we should be very careful. What are the requirements my application, and what all the compromises I can tolerate, what all the compromises I should do, I should take, I should make. Okay. So if your application can tolerate or can take a compromise in these all parameters, then you can select the communication protocol which is supporting or which is satisfying these all conditions. Okay. Then wireless sensor networks interact with their environment in which they are. Okay. So the wireless sensor networks themselves, they will interact with their environment. Means what? All devices which are connected here, sensors, actuators, smart objects, they will communicate with each other or they will interact with each other. Since there are different types of sensors are there, that interaction or that communication is only a challenge for us. Okay. Since sensors are producing a large amount of data, and that data should be processed. Correct? Sensors will generate or produce large amount of data, and that data should be processed. And how that data is processed? Maybe that data is processed locally in your own wireless sensor network by the nodes themselves. Here nodes are nothing but not always sensor, actuator and smart objects. If you remember your smart object, it contains CPU, communication unit, power source, sensors, actuators, so many components are there, right? So inside your wireless sensor network, if you are collecting the data as well as you are processing that data locally by the nodes like processor or any other sensor or anything, okay? So then it is called as local processing. And what is global processing? Global processing is nothing but you are sending the data beyond your network, beyond your network. It means you are sending that data to the other network, out of your network, in a hierarchical level in the complete IoT networks. There also we can process the data. So that processing is a global processing. Okay. So then whatever the communication protocols we will select for the establishment of communication between these sensors, actuators and other smart objects in our wireless sensor network, these protocols should provide us some facilities. Okay. What type of facilities? It means these protocols should provide us some routing algorithms. Okay. They should provide us some routing algorithms to route the data or to transmit the data, because many nodes are there in the network. After reaching one node, next to which node that data should be transmitted, after that where it should go, where is the next node, and how to go to that next node, because n number of nodes are there, which is a particular node where I have to transmit that data. These all things should be decided. So for that one, this protocol itself should give us a routing algorithm. And also apart from routing algorithm, it should also give us some message handling procedures or some message handling methods. So whatever the data or some messages they are communicating, how to handle those messages, whether you want to store those messages or you want to delete those messages after reading, and how to send those messages successfully. So many other message handling procedures also it has to give. So totally, I say once again, communication protocols should provide us routing algorithms as well as messaging handling algorithms. For what? For the flow of data, right? And where the flow of data is happening, I mean, where the data is moving, and from where to where it is going. The data is moving in between the sensors. Okay, the data is moving. The communication is between only sensors to sensors, or else sometimes the data may be moving or the communication may be between the sensors and some other outside world devices. That is optional gateways, edge computing, centralized cloud compute. Okay, these are not mandatory, they are optional. Most of the times the data will be transmitted between one sensor to another sensor. Okay, so now let us see how to connect these smart objects to establish the to establish the communication. See, sensors as well as some other IoT devices must be connected to a network. What should be connected? Sensors as well as some other IoT devices. They may be actuators, they may be any other smart objects. Okay, so these sensors and IoT devices must be connected to a network for their data to be utilized, because sensors responsibility is to generate the data, but to use that data other devices are there like actuators. So all these devices should be connected in a network. Okay, so in addition to these sensors, actuators and smart objects which are together making the IoT, there are some varieties of some different types of protocols are also present in our IoT, but they are not visible for us. They are logical, not physical. Okay, so apart from these sensors, actuators and smart objects, whatever till today we have studied, to connect them we should have a proper different types of protocols here. Okay, so that these devices can communicate with each other. Okay, now the first topic what I am going to discuss is communications criteria. Communications criteria. It means that criteria means what it is. It means that the features or characteristics of communication protocol and attributes of communication protocol. It means complete details about communication protocol I am going to study now. That is, I call it as a communications criteria. Criteria is nothing but characteristics of communication or communication protocol, attributes. Okay, so these are the characteristics of communication protocol. What are those? First is a range. First criteria is a range, or first attribute, or first characteristic. You can call it as anything, criteria. Okay, first criteria is range. It means range means the area. Okay, among till up to which area, how distance, how far away I should send the signal. Okay, how far away I should send the signals. That is range. It may be 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 4 meter, 5 meter, 10 meters, or not only meters, in terms of kilometers, in terms of miles. That is range. Okay, here what we are going to study is, these all are subtopics. Briefly summary I am telling what we are going to study in future. Okay, so here what we are going to study, we will see the importance of signal propagation and distance. Signal propagation. Propagation is nothing but forwarding. Signal providing or propagation is nothing but keep on providing, keep on forwarding. Now just now signal is here, and how long it should travel. Okay, so that is signal propagation in terms of distance and frequency bands. So there are frequencies are there for which to use those frequencies, we have to take permission from government organizations. They are called as licensed spectrum. Okay, spectrum is nothing but radio wave, radio signal. Okay, to use this type of spectrum or signals, radio signals, we should get a license from the government organizations. They are called as licensed spectrum. But some are there, some frequencies, they are unlicensed. Okay, they do not require license. Okay, these are about frequency bands, including a sub gigahertz frequencies also, sub gigahertz. So then power consumption, requirements of devices connected to a stable power source compared to those that are battery powered. Okay, we should understand that. What are the requirements of these devices which are connected to a constant power supply? Okay, it means that we should understand what are the requirements of devices which are connected to a constant continuous power supply compared to those devices which are operating on or which are being operated by battery. Okay, so then topology, various layouts are called as topology. Layout of a network is called as topology, right? So various layouts or various different types of topologies that may be supported for connecting the multiple smart objects. These all are criterias, communication criterias I am talking. Okay, because for communication we need a network in which the devices should be connected, right? So that network topology should be supported for connecting a multiple smart objects. Then constrained devices, constrained devices. It means constrained is nothing but conditional or some limitations of some smart objects from connectivity perspective. It means we should understand what are the limitations of smart objects, what are the disadvantages of smart objects when we connect them to other smart object. It means I am talking the disadvantages or limitations of smart object only in the point of connectivity, only in the aspect of or with respect to connectivity. Okay, then constrained node networks, okay. So whenever we start to connect one smart object to another smart object, what are the challenges we will face? So that is constrained node networks. So these all are criterias, okay, criterias of communication. Okay, it means these criterias are nothing but they are explaining us the characteristics and attributes we should consider whenever we select and deal with the connecting smart objects. Okay, so now the second topic will be IoT access technologies. IoT access technologies, what it provides us. In this topic, we are going to study some list of technologies which are used to connect the smart objects so that they can communicate with each other. That first technology is IEEE 802.154. What is this? This is a very old and first wireless protocol. So this is called as foundational wireless protocol. What was the purpose of this protocol? Wireless connection between smart objects. Okay, so then IEEE, next IEEE 802.154G and IEEE 802.154E. What are these? These are, if you observe carefully, these are just next versions of this previous protocol. Okay, this is E and this is G. 4 was here. It's the next version, updated version of the foundational or first wireless protocol what we have used for connecting a smart objects. So here definitely, since they are updated or next versions, definitely there may be some updations, some extra additional facilities, some improvements in these two technologies. Okay, so improvements to 802.154 that are targeted to utilities and smart city deployments. Mainly these two technologies are used for implementing smart cities or for deploying smart cities. The next technology is IEEE 1901, that is 19012A. You can see the number here. It is somewhat different. 19012A. What it is? It is also a technology. It is also IoT access technology. It is okay, which is used to connect the smart objects. So this technology is mainly used for connecting the smart objects, and very interestingly, these smart objects were connected by using power lines, not normal ordinary cables, power lines. The next one is IEEE 802.11AH. This is also technology which was mainly built based on the idea of 802.11, which is a Wi-Fi standard, which was a Wi-Fi standard 802.11. Based on that only this technology was developed. Because of that only they renamed or named it as a IEEE 802.11AH. So what is the purpose of this standard or this technology now, particular technology? This is mainly used for smart objects. Smart objects. You can see here Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi means what? Wireless, right? So similarly, if you want to make these smart objects to communicate in a wireless fashion, okay, then we can use this technology IEEE 802.11AH. Next technology is LoRaWAN, that is low RA WAN. It is a scalable technology. Scalable technology means irrespective of number of nodes, okay, it supports all nodes. A scalable technology designed for longer distances. See, if the IoT network or our wireless sensor network or any network, if it is a large in range, then this technology can be used there for longer distances. It means one device is in one place and one more device is in somewhat in a remote place. And even though they are allowing the communication between two devices which are in remote places in a long distances, so this technology requires very less amount of power. See the beauty of this technology. Okay, but but one negative or minus of this technology is it is unlicensed spectrum. Unlicensed spectrum it is. Okay, and NB IoT and other LTE variations. I think you have seen this short form LTE. It is related to mobile networks, right? So NB IoT and other LTE variations or LTE technologies is nothing but they are options for us. They are a choice for us. For what purpose? They are a choice of mobile service providers. Mobile service providers who are looking to connect the smart objects over a long distances in the licensed spectrum. Licensed spectrum. Because LoRaWAN, that is low WAN, this technology was connecting the objects which are in remote places with longer distances. Even it was consuming less power, but it was unlicensed spectrum. But if you want to support the communication between these remote devices with a long distance, which should be licensed, then we can use these technologies, NB IoT and other LTE variations. Okay, now we will see the criteria, communication criteria one by one. Wireless communication is a common nowadays, correct, in the world of smart object connectivity, mainly because advantages are already I discussed in previous class. Deployment is very easy, as well as it allows the smart objects to be mobile. It means you can carry these smart objects wherever you move. Okay, Even though they move from one place to another place, it means that they are changing their place or they are changing their location very frequently. They never lose the connectivity. Okay, it means that completely I told you the advantages of wireless connectivity now. Okay, now the first criteria is a range. Range, I already told you how far does this signal need to be propagated. How long I should propagate the signal. It means that what will be the area of coverage, how much area I should cover for selected wireless technology. Okay, even our mobile phones are receiving the signals from a nearest tower. Okay, what is the range of that tower, how much area that tower should cover, so that I am talking about here. Okay, then whether it should support in indoor as well as in outdoor. Okay, whether it should support indoor and outdoor. So whenever we start to use a wireless technologies, these are the first questions will come in our mind. What will be the area of coverage and whether it will support in indoor. If I go and sit in a house or in a small room inside a house or somewhere. Okay, these are all the questions will be arised in our mind when we start to talk about wireless technology. Okay, the simple way to answer these all type of questions is, first we should categorize these technologies. Okay, categorize these technologies based on their range, supporting range or providing range as shown in a figure 10. I will show you one diagram now. Okay, how to categorize them? We should break these technologies into following ranges. It means that we should divide them into, we should categorize them into based on the ranges what they are providing to us. Okay, so in this diagram you can observe here, to support very short range you can use a Bluetooth technology. To support a medium range, then you can use 802.154 GE, just now what I discussed, and you can use 802.154, just now what I discussed, 101901.2, these all things just now what I discussed. Okay, for somewhat if you want to have a wireless communication for around 10 meters or 100 meters, then you can use these technologies what I am showing here, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, and these all things. If you want a communication, wireless communication only in terms of 1 to 3 or 4 meters, then you can use Bluetooth. If you want a wireless communication with the long distance, then you should use a cellular technology, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Okay, so in that short range was there, right? What is this short range? This is a classical wired example, is a serial cable. If you consider the wired connection, okay, which is called as a serial cable, continuous cable. So wireless short range technologies are usually considered as an alternative to these serial cable. But this serial cable was wired it is. Now we are focusing only on wireless. And since this wireless network is providing us short range technology, short range, then we can compare this with this wired serial cable, because it was also supporting a short range or short area. Okay, so this wireless short range is supporting the data transmission or signal transmission up to 10 meters. Okay, maximum 10 meters. If a distance between two devices is a 10 meters, then you can use this a short range, that is Bluetooth. So it means the Bluetooth's capacity is to support the devices communications if they are 10 meters along. Okay, then examples for these short range wireless technologies are IEEE 802.151 Bluetooth and IEEE 802.157 Visible Light Communications VLC. Okay, so these all short range communication methods are found only in a minor of IoT installations, because always IoT requires the medium range or high range. Okay, so very rarely we will get this communication, that is with short range. Then in some other cases, they are not mature enough for production deployment. It means that they will not support this production deployment. It means in the industry, they are not suitable. Then medium range. Medium range is the main category of IoT access technology actually. It means that majority of range in IoT, we use a medium range only. That is just now in previous diagram I have shown you. They all are Wi-Fi. Okay, they all are operated on Wi-Fi. And how much distance it will support? It supports from 10 meters to 100 meters. And not 100 actually. In fact, it supports up to 900. It is not 100, it is hundreds. 100 means what it is. It may be 500, it may be 600, 700, 800, 900. Okay, so this medium range supports the communication up to wireless communication up to 100 meter to 900 meter, or 10 meters to 900 meters. The maximum distance between two devices should be always less than 1 mile. 1 mile is nothing but 1.6 kilometers. Okay, if you want to convert it into meters, it will be 1609 meters. But here, what is the capacity of this range? This is supporting only up to 900 or 1000 meters. Okay, so maximum it can support up to 1.5 kilometers. Okay, so next is examples are IEEE 802.11 Wi-Fi, IEEE 802.154, IEEE 802.154G, WPAM. These all are some examples for these technologies. And here, if you consider wired technology, so wired technologies like 802.3 Ethernet and 1901.2 narrowband power line communications, these wired technologies also categorized or classified as medium range technologies. Okay, this is just one extra knowledge purpose I told you. Actually, we are focusing only on wireless technologies. Here, if you want to know about wired technologies also, there are some wired technologies are also there which are belonging to this range. Okay, but they are also called as a medium range. They are categorized or classified as a medium range. But that dependency, that depends on the what type of physical media they are using, what type of cable, what type of wire they are using, what is the capacity of that wire, quality of that wire. Based on that, this range is dependent. Okay, otherwise again they would have been in this range, that is short range. If the physical media is good, then they will be belonging to this medium range. Okay, next, long distance or long range. So here the distance between two devices may be more than 1 mile or more than 1.5 kilometer. Okay, this is called as long range technologies. Examples are cellular technologies, cellular networks, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, in fact, in today's era. Okay, some applications of outdoor applications like 802.11 Wi-Fi and low power wide area, that is LPWA technology. Okay, so this LPWA communication have the ability to communicate over a large area without consuming much power. See, previously you have seen, no, LORAWA and something, some technology was there. Similarly, this is also supporting the communication between large distance by consuming very less amount of power. Okay, these technologies are therefore ideal or good for battery powered IoT sensors. So because of that, this type of technology, it is better to use with a battery since they want very less amount of power. But these are not good to use in industries. In industrial networks, 802.3 over this optical fiber and 1909, 1901 broadband power line communications are classified as long range, but they are not really considered as IoT access technologies. Which are those? These one, optical fiber IEEE 802.3 and in the broadband power line communication IEEE 1901. So these two technologies are providing long range communication, but they are not really, till today they have not accepted as a IoT access technologies. Okay, so this is about communication protocol. In that one I discussed first criteria, that is range. Okay, in the next class I continue with the next criteria. Have a nice day. You can leave the meeting now.